Have you ever stopped and asked yourself this question? Who really wrote the song you are singing in the house of God? Have you considered that not every melody, not every lyric, not every sound that echoes in worship comes from heaven? Some songs are not born in the Spirit of God, but are inspired by the enemy of your soul. The devil has written songs, and many have carried them into the holy assembly, lifting them as if they were holy offerings, while in truth they are chains in disguise. And today, my heart burns to tell you this truth. Many of God's people are unknowingly singing the very songs the devil wrote, and those songs are shaping their faith, weakening their spirit, and pulling them away from the power and purity of God. The devil has always been a master of music. He knows that melody reaches deeper than sermons, that rhythm can slip into the soul before words are understood. Music bypasses walls, penetrates emotions, and lodges itself in memory. That is why the devil uses music more than anything else. He knows if he can get God's people to sing his lies, those lies will become their beliefs. If he can get you to sing about weakness, you will live in weakness. If he can get you to sing about defeat, you will walk in defeat. If he can get you to sing about self, you will never exalt God. The devil understands that a song on your lips can become a spirit in your life. And this is why we must be discerning. Not every song that mentions God carries his spirit. Not every melody that sounds holy is born in heaven. Some songs were written in hell, and the people of God are singing them without knowing. There are songs in churches today that glorify feelings rather than glorifying God. Songs that magnify human emotion, sadness, and brokenness, but never lift the soul to the throne of God. There are songs that endlessly repeat empty phrases, stirring the flesh but not the spirit. Songs that make people feel spiritual, but leave them powerless against sin, powerless against temptation, powerless against fear. These songs are not born from the fire of God. They are written to numb you, to keep you entertained, to make you mistake emotion for anointing. And the devil smiles when God's people sing them, because he knows they will leave the house of God unchanged. A true song of God will never exalt weakness without pointing to his strength. A true song of God will never glorify despair without magnifying his power to deliver. A true song of God will never leave you in your sorrow, but will lift you into faith, into victory, into the unshakable reality that God is greater than every storm. But today, many songs leave people wallowing in their pain, circling around their wounds, singing endlessly about their struggle, while the name of God is only whispered as an afterthought. Who do you think wrote such songs? Not God. For God is not the author of confusion, nor the composer of despair. God is the giver of strength, the fountain of victory, the song of freedom. But the devil has written songs that keep you chained to your feelings, and you sing them as if they are holy. Music has always been spiritual warfare. Think of it. When David played the harp, the evil spirit tormenting Saul fled. Why? Because the song was pure, born from the Spirit of God, filled with holiness. But now, what happens in many gatherings, songs are sung that have no power to drive away darkness, no authority to break chains, no anointing to bring healing. Instead, The songs invite entertainment, performance, and self-centeredness. And people clap, they sway, they cry, but the devil does not flee, because the song is his. And yet it is sung as if it belongs to God. Beloved, we must awaken. We must discern the songs we sing. We must test the lyrics, the spirit, the origin. Does the song exalt God or exalt the singer? Does the song glorify the throne or glorify the stage? Does the song lead your heart to worship or simply stir your emotions? A song that truly comes from God will draw you out of yourself and into His presence. It will silence fear, strengthen faith, and cause the devil to tremble. But a song from the enemy will trap you in cycles of emotion, lead you to exalt your pain, and weaken your spirit until you are easy prey for the lies of the devil. The danger is this: once a song enters the mouth of the church, it becomes doctrine in melody. People may not remember the sermon, but they will remember the song. They may not memorize scripture, but they will sing the lyrics every day. And if those lyrics are not truth, they will carry lies into their hearts, repeating them until they believe them. The devil knows this. That is why he writes songs that sound sweet but are poisoned. Songs that feel spiritual but are powerless. Songs that mention God but do not glorify Him. Songs that replace worship with performance. Songs that replace truth with feeling. Songs that replace holiness with entertainment. And when God's people sing them, they are feeding on poison with a smile. Do not be deceived. Music is not neutral. Every song has a spirit behind it. Every melody carries a seed. Some songs carry the seed of heaven. Others carry the seed of hell. And the seed you allow into your heart through your lips will grow. That is why God warns us to guard our hearts with all diligence. For the heart is shaped by what we repeat, by what we declare, by what we sing. If the song you sing was written by the devil, then you are watering the very seed of destruction with your own mouth. But if the song you sing is birthed by God, you are declaring life, victory, and faith into your spirit. We must return to songs that are filled with the Word of God. Songs that exalt His greatness, His majesty, His holiness. Songs that silence the flesh and awaken the spirit. Songs that make the devil flee, not laugh. Songs that cause chains to break, not emotions to rise and fall. Anchor songs that declare the eternal truth of God's power and not the fleeting feeling of man's weakness. For when you sing such songs, you are not entertaining yourself. You are waging war. Every lyric becomes a sword, every melody a shield, every chorus a battle cry against the enemy. This is the music of heaven, and this is what the people of God need today. But the devil is cunning. He does not put his name on the song. He wraps his lies in melodies that sound holy, in lyrics that seem harmless. He knows the people of God are often more moved by music than by truth. And so he uses music as his weapon. He places his songs in the mouths of talented singers. He fills the air with his rhythms, and he sends them into the house of God disguised as does worship. And because they sound beautiful, many accept them. Because they stir emotions, many call them anointed. Because they are popular, many declare them holy. But popularity does not prove purity. Emotion does not prove anointing. A song that pleases the flesh but does not glorify God is not worship. It is deception. I tell you today, guard your lips from the songs of the devil. Do not allow your spirit to be chained by melodies that weaken your faith. Do not let your worship become corrupted by lyrics that exalt man instead of God. Sing only what strengthens your spirit. Sing only what magnifies God. Sing only what breaks the grip of fear and fills your heart with the power of heaven. For the songs you sing are not just words, they are weapons. And if you choose the wrong weapon, you will lose the battle before it even begins. Beloved, understand this: worship is not entertainment. Worship is warfare. Worship is not about what you feel. It is about who God is. Worship is not about performance. It is about surrender. Worship is not about the stage. It is about the throne. And the devil trembles when the people of God worship in truth. That is why he works tirelessly to corrupt the songs of worship, to twist them into tools of deception. But when you lift your voice in songs that exalt God, songs filled with His truth, songs birthed in His Spirit, every chain is broken, every darkness flees, every fear dissolves. That is the power of true worship. The devil wrote many songs, but you do not have to sing them. You can choose the song of God. You can fill your lips with truth. You can turn your worship into a weapon of victory. Do not settle for empty lyrics. Do not settle for melodies that stir your flesh, but starve your spirit. Sing what glorifies God. Sing what lifts your faith. Sing what breaks the chains. And when you do, you will see the power of God move mightily in your life. For a song of God is not just music. It is fire, it is power, it is life. Beloved, let me open your eyes to something deeper, something that many do not realize. The devil does not always attack with swords, chains, and visible weapons. His most dangerous weapon is subtlety. He works in whispers, in distractions, in counterfeit light. That is why the devil uses songs. Because songs do not look dangerous. They sound beautiful, they feel comforting. They carry melody and rhythm. But behind that sweetness may be poison. Behind that melody may be rebellion. Behind those lyrics may be lies crafted to weaken your devotion to God. Do not underestimate the subtlety of the enemy. What looks harmless may be the very snare that pulls your soul into bondage. Understand this? Every song carries a spirit. The words you sing are not just empty syllables, they are declarations. They are confessions of your faith. When you sing about defeat, you are declaring defeat over your life. When you sing about fear, you are inviting fear into your heart. When you sing about emptiness without magnifying God, you are agreeing with emptiness. The devil knows this. That is why he writes songs that sound spiritual, but are filled with weakness. He wants you to confess defeat with your own lips. He wants you to invite despair into your heart. He wants you to make melodies out of your chains and call it worship. And when you do, you give power to the very lies he planted. But God is calling His people to discernment. God is calling His people to rise above emotional worship and enter into true worship. True worship is not about how the song makes you feel. It is about how the song aligns with the truth of God. A song may give you chills. It may bring you to tears. It may stir your heart. But if it does not glorify God, it is not holy. If it magnifies your feelings more than His greatness, it is not worship. If it entertains your flesh, but does not strengthen your spirit, it is not from God. You must weigh the songs you sing against the truth of God. Does it exalt His power? Does it magnify His holiness? Does it lift your heart into His presence? If not, it is not a song of heaven. The tragedy is that many have confused popularity with purity. Because a song is sung by millions, they assume it is from God. Because it trends on radios, fills stadiums, and echoes across nations, they assume it carries the Spirit of God. But remember, the devil also has followers. The devil also has influence. The devil also knows how to spread his lies far and wide. Do not be deceived by numbers. The majority is not always walking in truth. Many follow the wide road, and only a few walk the narrow path. The same is true of music. The wide road is filled with songs that please the flesh, but the narrow road is filled with songs that glorify God. And let me tell you this, God does not need performance. God does not need stage lights, smoke machines, or polished voices. God is not impressed by your talent. He is moved by your truth. You can have a voice that shakes stadiums, but if your song does not glorify God, it is noise in His ears. You can have instruments that sound like angels, but if the song exalts man more than God, it is empty sound. What God desires is purity of heart. What God desires is lyrics filled with truth. What God desires is worship that comes from the Spirit, not entertainment that feeds the flesh. Some of you must ask yourselves, what are you really singing? Do you even listen to the words, or do you just let the melody carry you? The devil knows if you stop thinking and just keep singing, his lies will seep into your heart unnoticed. That is why discernment is crucial. Guard your lips. Guard your heart. Guard the songs you allow into your spirit. Because songs are seeds, and once planted, they grow. If you plant the seeds of lies, you will reap chains. If you plant the seeds of truth, you will reap freedom. There is another danger, the spirit of imitation. Many churches today no longer seek God for fresh songs. Instead, they copy what the world sings and add God's name to it. They take the rhythms of the world, the melodies of the world, the culture of the world, and try to baptize it in religion. But what is born of the world will always carry the spirit of the world. You cannot take the enemy's music, sprinkle God's name on it, and call it holy. God is not mocked. Holiness cannot be mixed with corruption. Purity cannot be mingled with compromise. A song birthed in the world cannot carry the fire of heaven. It will only carry the spirit of where it was born. And if it was born in rebellion, no matter how beautiful it sounds, it will only spread rebellion. Beloved, true worship costs something. It costs flesh, it costs pride, it costs performance. True worship is not convenient, it is sacrificial. It is not about pleasing man, it is about pleasing God. That is why many do not want to sing the true songs of God. Because those songs demand surrender. Those songs confront sin. Those songs strip away the masks and call you into holiness. And many would rather sing songs that make them feel good than songs that make them bow in reverence before the living God. This is why the devil's songs are more popular. They flatter the flesh while starving the spirit. But the song of God may pierce your heart before it lifts you. It may humble you before it empowers you. It may break you before it rebuilds you. But when you sing it, you are transformed. That is the difference between a song written by the devil and a song born of God. And I must tell you this, songs shape nations. Look at history. Revolutions were fueled by songs. Wars were marched with songs. Cultures were transformed by songs. Songs carry ideologies. Songs shape value. Songs mold generations. Do you not see? If the devil can control the songs of a generation, he can control their thoughts, their desires, their faith. That is why the battle for music is so fierce. The devil is not just fighting for melodies. He is fighting for your soul. He knows if he can write your songs, he can write your future. But if you sing the songs of God, your future is in his hands. Beloved, listen closely. There is a reason the first thing that falls when a people turn away from God is always their music. When a nation drifts from holiness, its songs change first. When hearts grow cold, their lips no longer sing of God's greatness, but of their own desires, their own pleasures, their own idols. Music reveals the state of the soul. If you want to know where a people stand with God, listen to the songs they sing. A generation that exalts God will be known for songs of purity, songs of reverence, songs that lift the spirit into his presence. But a generation that has drifted will be known for songs of rebellion, songs of lust, songs of despair, songs that celebrate everything God has forbidden. This is why the devil fights for music. Because it is the quickest way to turn the hearts of the people. The devil does not need to preach a sermon if he can make you sing his lyrics every day. He does not need to teach you lies if he can clothe them in melodies that feel irresistible. He knows that words alone may be forgotten, but songs linger. A melody repeats in your mind long after the sound has stopped. You hum it while you work. You whisper it while you walk. You dream it in your sleep. This is why music is one of the most powerful tools in the spiritual realm. It is not passive. It is not neutral. It is active. It works in the unseen, shaping thoughts, shaping emotions, shaping spirit. And so the devil writes songs, knowing that if you carry them on your lips, you will carry them in your life. But here is the truth the people of God must grasp. God also gave music as a weapon. When you lift your voice in songs of truth, when you declare his power with melodies born of his spirit, the atmosphere shifts. Darkness cannot remain where God is exalted. Chains cannot hold where faith is sung. Fear cannot thrive where his greatness is declared. This is why David sang before God. This is why prophets lifted their voices in praise. This is why even in battle, the people of God place singers at the front line, because worship is not entertainment. It is warfare. And a song filled with God's power is more dangerous to the devil than 1,000 weapons of a man. So, why is the devil writing songs and planting them in the mouths of believers? Because he knows many have lost their discernment. Many have traded truth for trend, purity for popularity, holiness for hype. They look for songs that excite the crowd, not songs that please God. They seek what sounds beautiful, not what carries his spirit. But remember this: beauty without truth is deception. Talent without purity is corruption. A song may impress thousands, but if it does not glorify God, It is powerless in heaven. Do not be deceived by performance. God is not listening to the quality of your voice. He is listening to the posture of your heart. The devil has deceived many into believing that worship must sound perfect, polished, and professional. But some of the most powerful worship does not happen on stages. It happens in hidden rooms where hearts cry out to God in truth. It happens in prisons, where chains rattle, but voices still rise. It happens in deserts where no instrument is heard, but the heart beats in rhythm with heaven. That is true worship. And the devil hates it because it cannot be manipulated. It cannot be packaged. It cannot be corrupted. We must ask ourselves, why do we sing? Do we sing to feel good? Or do we sing to glorify God? Do we sing to entertain ourselves? Or do we sing to wage war in the spirit? Do we sing to impress others? Or do we sing to move the heart of God? Because intention matters. A song of God must come from a place of reverence, not performance. It must be filled with truth, not just emotion. It must be aligned with His holiness, not our convenience. Another trap the devil has set in music is endless repetition without depth. Songs that circle around the same shallow phrases, stirring emotion but never lifting the heart into truth. And people confuse the rise of feelings with the presence of God. They sway, they weep, they shout. But when the music stops, nothing has changed. Why? Because feelings are not transformation. Emotion is not faith. True worship does not leave you the same. It changes you. It breaks sin. It renews your mind. It strengthens your spirit. A song from God will leave you closer to Him. A song from the devil will leave you empty, though entertained. We must also be careful of songs that subtly twist the truth. Some songs mention God but redefine Him. They reduce Him to a vague idea, a powerless figure, a comforting presence without authority. But God is not vague. God is not powerless. God is not limited. He is the creator of heaven and earth, the ruler of all, the one who holds life and death in His hands. Any song that strips God of His majesty, that paints Him as less than holy, is not a song of heaven. It is a song of deception. And I must tell you, the devil is not afraid of you singing about God. If your song does not honor Him, he is not threatened by your noise. He is threatened by your truth. You can shout, you can dance, you can fill a stadium with sound, but if the lyrics do not glorify God, the devil will not flee. But if you whisper one song of truth, birthed from a heart surrendered to God, all of hell trembles. It is not the volume of your song that matters. It is the spirit behind it. Beloved, you must reclaim the music of heaven. Fill your lips with songs of truth. Train your children to sing songs that exalt God, not songs that glorify the world. Fill your homes with melodies of holiness, not rhythms of corruption. When the devil tries to infiltrate your heart with his songs, silence him with the songs of God. Replace his lies with truth. Replace his despair with praise. Replace his rebellion with surrender. Because every time you sing God's truth, you push back the darkness. The devil wrote songs, yes, but God also gave His people the power to sing. And your song is not just sound, it is spirit. When you sing in truth, you are declaring war on the enemy. When you sing in truth, you are building an altar to God in your heart. When you sing in truth, you are aligning your soul with eternity. That is why the devil is after your songs, because he knows your worship is his defeat. Beloved, hear this with all the weight of truth. When the devil writes a song, he does not simply aim at your ears, he aims at your soul. He knows that music shapes memory more than speeches, that melodies enter the heart even when the mind resists. That is why he weaves lies into rhythm, so that you repeat them willingly, joyfully, unknowingly. And when your lips confess those lies in song, your spirit begins to live them out. Do not underestimate this strategy. It is subtle, but it is deadly. For the words you sing are not harmless. They are seeds planted in your heart, and every seed grows into a harvest. The enemy is not only writing songs of despair and weakness, he is also writing songs of pride. Songs that exalt man more than God. Songs that celebrate the singer more than the creator. Songs that turn worship into performance, where the attention of the crowd becomes more important than the reverence of the heart. And the tragedy is this: many cannot tell the difference. They see lights, hear beautiful voices, feel emotions rise, and they call it worship. But if God is not the center, it is not worship, it is entertainment. It may please the crowd, but it does not please the throne of heaven. And let me tell you something that will shake you. The devil does not care if you mention God in the song, as long as you never glorify him. He does not fear a song that says God's name, but does not magnify his holiness. He does not tremble at lyrics that call out to God, but never declare his power. What he fears is when you exalt God above everything, when you declare his greatness with conviction, when you sing of his majesty with truth. That is what drives darkness away. That is what shakes the atmosphere. That is what brings freedom. The songs of the devil are not always dark in appearance. Sometimes they sound uplifting. Sometimes they sound comforting. Sometimes they even sound holy. But listen carefully. The question is not how they sound, but what spirit they carry. A counterfeit coin looks similar to the real thing, but its value is empty. A counterfeit song may sound like worship, but its spirit is hollow. And hollow worship cannot break chains, cannot open heaven, cannot transform hearts. Only true-filled worship has that power. Some of you must also realize that the devil's songs do not only exist in churches. They exist in the streets, in the marketplaces, in the media, in the devices you carry. Many fill their minds daily with the devil's songs, and then wonder why they struggle to feel the presence of God. You cannot feast on the melodies of the enemy all week and expect to worship with purity on the day of gathering. Your spirit becomes what it consumes. If your ears are filled with corruption, your heart would echo corruption. But if your ears are filled with the truth of God, your spirit will be lifted into holiness. The danger is not only what you sing, but also what you allow others to sing into your life. Be careful of the songs you allow into your home. Be careful of the music you let your children grow up with. For music teaches faster than sermons. Music bypasses arguments and shapes desires. A child who sings the devil's songs will learn his lies before he even knows they are lies. But a child who grows up singing of God's power, God's holiness, God's greatness, will have a spirit trained in truth before the world tries to deceive him. This is why families must guard their songs. This is why parents must lead by example. And let me give you another perspective. When you worship God with pure songs, you are joining the eternal choir of creation. The birds sing their melodies every morning, not to entertain themselves, but to glorify their Maker. The waves crash against the shore in rhythm, declaring His power. The wind whispers through the trees, carrying the sound of His greatness. All creation has a song, and that song glorifies God. But only mankind has been deceived into the songs of rebellion. The devil wants to corrupt the one voice in creation that has the power to consciously choose God. Do not let him steal your voice. Do not let him take your worship and twist it into his instrument. Worship is a sacred trust. Music is a holy gift. It was given to you not to glorify yourself, not to entertain your flesh, but to exalt the one who created you. When you use music for any purpose other than glorifying God, you are misusing His gift. And when you use it to sing the songs of the enemy, you are turning God's gift into the devil's weapon. Beloved, guard this gift with holy fear. Treat it as sacred. Use it as it was meant to be used, to glorify God alone. And know this, the songs you sing shape the battles you win. A warrior who sings the devil's song enters the battlefield already defeated. A believer who sings God's song enters the storm already victorious. This is why Paul and Silas sang in the prison, and the chains fell. Not because of the sound of their voices, but because of the truth in their song. They exalted God even in chains, and the chains had no choice but to break. That is the power of true worship. And the devil hates it because he knows it turns weakness into strength, sorrow into joy, despair into hope. That is why he tries to corrupt your song. So I tell you today with urgency, sing with discernment, sing with wisdom, sing with fire. Let your voice be a sword against the enemy, not a tool for him. Refuse to let the devil write the soundtrack of your life. Refuse to let him poison your worship. Choose the songs of God. Choose truth over trend. Choose holiness over hype. Choose reverence over entertainment. And when you do, your worship will rise like incense before God, shaking the heavens, silencing the enemy, and transforming your very soul. My beloved, I must tell you with the deepest urgency of my spirit, when you allow a song that glorifies self, pride, or worldly pleasure into your lips, you are lifting your voice as an offering not to God, but to the enemy who authored the very melody. Music is not innocent. Words are not harmless. The rhythm, the chant, the vibration, it is either ascending as worship to God, or it is descending as corruption to your soul. The devil does not need to preach from pulpits, for he has already placed his sermons into melodies, and the congregation sings them with lifted hands, thinking they honor God, while their spirits are entangled in chains they cannot see. Do you not realize that from the beginning, music was created to glorify God? Instruments resounded in heaven not for entertainment, but for worship. Yet the fallen one, once a creature of beauty, twisted the gift of sound into a weapon against the very Creator who made him. And now, centuries later, he does not need to whisper lies into your ears. He packages them in choruses, hooks, and refrains, and believers memorize them faster than they memorize the holy words of God. He hides rebellion in rhythm, deceit in harmony, and pride in lyrics, and the people of God sing them without discernment. Can you not feel the weight of this deception? This is why you must guard your ears with the same intensity that you guard your eyes and heart. For every song that you allow into your soul is like planting a seed. If the seed is holy, rooted in the fear of God, it will grow into worship, strength, and reverence. But if the seed is corrupt, planted by the enemy, it will bear fruit of rebellion, distraction, and disobedience. Many wonder why their prayers feel heavy, why their spirits feel dry, why their connection to God feels distant. It is because the song of the enemy has become louder than the song of heaven in their lives. Do not be deceived by the beauty of sound. Just because something sounds pleasant does not mean it is holy. The serpent in the garden did not sound frightening. He sounded persuasive, appealing, almost wise. The same is true with music. The devil does not enter through horror and terror. He enters through sweetness, through what feels harmless, through what feels comforting to the flesh but poison to the spirit. He hides destruction inside beauty, just as a wolf hides under the wool of a sheep. That is why you must test every word, every melody, every rhythm by the standard of God's truth. The people of God must reclaim music for holiness. Your voice was not created to echo the world. It was created to resound with the praises of the Most High. Your heart was not designed to beat to the rhythm of rebellion. It was designed to align with the eternal rhythm of God's presence. But as long as you sing the enemy's songs, you give him access to your soul. You allow him to sit on the throne of your emotions, to dictate your atmosphere, to manipulate your spirit. And if you are not careful, the song will become your prayer, and the prayer will shape your destiny away from God. Beloved, understand this truth. The devil cannot force you to bow before him, but he can seduce you to sing with him. And once you sing with him, you agree with him. Once you agree with him, you align with him. And once you align with him, you are already in rebellion against the one who formed you. Guard your worship as though your very life depends on it, for it does. Worship is not about preference, it is about allegiance. When you open your mouth to sing, you declare whose side you are on. If your lips declare the words of God, you stand in his light. But if your lips echo the words of rebellion, even clothed in beauty, you stand in darkness while believing you are in the light. This is why the devil wages war over music in the church. He knows that if he can corrupt the song, he can corrupt the worship. If he can corrupt the worship, he can corrupt the heart. And if he can corrupt the heart, he can corrupt the destiny of the believer. So, he sends his songs like arrows into the sanctuary, disguised as harmless, but laced with poison. And while the faithful lift their hands, thinking they draw closer to God, their spirits unknowingly echo the rebellion of the enemy. This is why the people of God must awaken. This is why discernment must be sharper than ever before. Do not let your voice become an instrument for the enemy. Do not allow your lips to glorify what God hates. Do not let your heart beat to rhythms that exalt pride, lust, or rebellion. Instead, sanctify your worship. Purify your song. Let your melodies rise as incense to God alone. For when you sing in holiness, the atmosphere shifts, chains are broken, spirits are lifted, and the presence of God descends with power. But when you sing in deception, the opposite occurs. Bondage deepens, confusion spreads, and your spirit drifts away from the very God you long to serve. Beloved, the choice is yours every day. What song will you allow to shape your spirit? Will you give your voice to God? Or will you lend your voice to the enemy? Will you be a vessel of worship, or will you be an echo of rebellion? Remember this: music is not entertainment, it is warfare. Every time you sing, you are either advancing the kingdom of God or advancing the schemes of the devil. Choose wisely, for your worship carries eternal weight. My beloved brothers and sisters, I must speak with a voice that cuts through tradition, with a fire that cannot be silenced, and with a truth that will shake the very foundations of what many have been taught for centuries. Listen carefully, because this message is not meant to soothe, but to awaken. For too long, the people of God have been enslaved by man-made doctrines, shackled by religious institutions, and blinded by practices that have nothing to do with the heart of God. And one of the greatest deceptions that has crept into the house of God is the practice of tithing. Yes, I declare it boldly before you today. Tithing is a sin because it twists the truth, manipulates the faithful, and makes the worship of God into a transaction. Open your ears and let your spirit be alive. Do not turn away from these words. Do not allow fear, tradition, or the pressure of men to drown out the voice of God that is speaking through this truth. You have been told for years that if you do not give 10% of your income, you are robbing God. You have been threatened with curses, with financial ruin, with the loss of blessings. You have been made to believe that your worth before God depends on the amount you place in an envelope. But I ask you, my friends, can the Almighty God, who created the heavens and the earth, who feeds the birds of the air and clothes the lilies of the field, be reduced to a God who demands a percentage? Can the Eternal One, who owns all things, be bribed by your coins? To believe this is to diminish God, to bring Him down to the level of greedy men who twist His name for profit. Do you not see? The moment you treat God as if He were a merchant trading blessings for money, you have fallen into sin. The moment you give out of fear rather than from the purity of your heart, you have entered into bondage. And the moment religious leaders use the pulpit to pressure you into giving while living in wealth and luxury, they commit a great sin against God and against the people. Tithing has become a system of control, not of love. It has become a weapon to rob the poor rather than a fountain of generosity that flows freely from the heart. The truth, my friends, is this: God never asked for your percentage. God asked for your life. God never said, give me 10% and keep the 90 for yourself. No. God said, Al is mine, you are mine, your life, your breath, your possessions, your soul, all belongs to me. When you live with that understanding, you realize that putting a limit a calculation, a formula on your giving is an insult to the greatness of God. It is sin because it places human mathematics on divine relationship. It is sin because it cages the freedom of the Spirit under the weight of legalistic tradition. Let me speak with plainness. When a man gives because he is threatened, his giving is corrupted. When a woman offers money because she was told God will curse her otherwise, her offering is not holy. It is tainted by fear. And when a congregation applauds itself for fulfilling a law that God did not require, they are not worshiping. They are deceiving themselves. True giving is not a tenth, nor a calculation. True giving is surrender to God with all that you are, with all that you have in every moment of your life. Anything less, anything forced, anything manipulated is sin. Now, some will resist this message. They will say, but we have always tithed. My response is simple: tradition does not sanctify a lie. Others will say, but my leaders told me God will not bless me unless I tithe. I tell you now, when you rely on men to interpret the heart of God for you, you make them your masters instead of God. Still others will say, but how will the house of God survive without tithers? And I thunder back, the house of God is sustained by God Himself. If a work is truly born of God, then the God who calls will also provide. If a ministry collapses because tithes are not collected, then that ministry was not built on the foundation of God, but on the foundation of human greed. Do not misunderstand me. I am not against giving. I am not against generosity. In fact, I proclaim with all the fire within me that generosity is the very essence of living with God. But generosity must be pure, not polluted by threats. Giving must be from love, not from fear. Offerings must rise from joy, not from guilt. God loves a cheerful giver, not a fearful one. And when you give cheerfully, when you give freely, when you give without calculation, you are no longer bound by sin. You are free in God. My friends, tithing is a sin because it is used as a replacement for true devotion. People believe they can live however they please, commit whatever sins they desire, and then wash their conscience by giving 10%. But God cannot be bought. God cannot be bribed. God is not mocked. You cannot live in darkness and then think your tithe will open the gates of blessing. No. God demands your heart. God demands your obedience. God demands your holiness. And when you give your life fully to God, your giving will not be a percentage. It will be unlimited. You will give your time, your energy, your compassion, your love, your resources, your everything, because you will understand that all of it already belongs to God. Do you see the deception? Religious leaders have turned God's people into spiritual accountants. Instead of teaching surrender, they teach calculation. Instead of calling you to holiness, they call you to percentages. Instead of leading you into the depths of God, they trap you in the shallow waters of financial obligation. And so entire congregations live in bondage, thinking they are pleasing God by handing over a portion, when in reality, their hearts remain untouched. That, my friends, is sin. That is the greatest tragedy. When God sees you, He does not measure your worth by the amount in your pocket. He does not look at your tithe slip or your bank statement. He looks at your heart. He looks at your surrender. He looks at whether you are living for Him in truth. God is not impressed by numbers. God is impressed by obedience. And obedience is not measured in 10%. Obedience is measured in whether you are willing to say, God, all that I am and all that I have is yours. My beloved, listen carefully, for I speak with urgency, as one who carries a burden too heavy to remain silent. There are truths that comfort, and there are truths that cut. What I speak now is the latter. It will cut through the lies. It will pierce through the deception, and it will strike down the falsehood that has enslaved many. When you hear this, do not resist it, for it is the voice of awakening. Tithing has become one of the greatest stumbling blocks in the life of those who claim to walk with God, because it has shifted the focus from devotion to transaction, from surrender to calculation, from worship to business. And anything that shifts the heart away from God is sin. God is not a banker keeping ledgers of your wealth. God is not a merchant standing at the door of heaven, waiting for your payment before He releases His blessings. God is not bound to your coins, your notes, or your percentages. To think so is to reduce the Almighty to the level of men. It is an insult to the infinite, a corruption of the holy, a mockery of the one who gives without limit and sustains without condition. Those who demand your tithe are not speaking with the authority of God. They are speaking with the hunger of their own desires. They build kingdoms of stone and wood, while the souls of the people are starved of truth. They demand 1/10 of your labor, while giving you nothing but fear in return. Let us think with clarity. If tithing were truly the way to please God, then only the wealthy could be righteous. If the measure of your faithfulness were the size of your offering, then the poor would be forever condemned. But has God ever despised the poor? Has God ever rejected the broken because they could not bring silver and gold? No, God looks at the widow who has nothing but a small offering given with sincerity, and He sees more honor in her heart than in the vaults of the rich. This is the proof that God is not moved by the amount, but by the motive. This is the evidence that percentage-based giving is nothing more than human invention, chained to greed, and far removed from the heart of God. Tithing is sin because it teaches you to give by law, not by love. It teaches you to count your coins, but not to count your blessings. It demands you meet a number, but it ignores the state of your soul. What good is it if a man tithes faithfully, but his heart is cold, his lips are filled with lies, his hands are stained with injustice, and his spirit is far from God? Will God look upon his ledger and be pleased? No. God will say, I never asked for your 10th. I asked for your life. And I say to you, beware of those who twist the name of God for gain. Beware of those who turn His house into a marketplace. Beware of those who preach curses upon you unless you pay. These are not shepherds, they are wolves. They do not feed the flock, they feed on the flock. They do not represent the holiness of God. They represent the greed of their own bellies. And the tragedy is that many follow them blindly, fearing the curse of men more than they fear disobedience to God. My friends, if your giving is driven by fear, it is no longer holy. It has become corruption. If your offering is forced, It is no longer an offering, it has become extortion. And if your leaders place burdens on you that God has not commanded, they will answer before the throne of the Almighty. Understand this true. Giving cannot be boxed into percentages. True giving flows from the heart. True giving is not measured by calculation, but by sacrifice. When you surrender fully to God, you will realize that everything you have is already His. Your home, your income, your strength, your talents, your hours, they all belong to God. When you recognize this, you will stop asking, how much should I give? Instead, you will ask, God, how much can I keep back from you when all is yours? That, my beloved, is the freedom of the Spirit. That is the essence of devotion. That is the difference between giving out of law and giving out of love. Do not let anyone enslave you with threats of curses. For God is not waiting to destroy you because you missed a tenth of your salary. God is not petty, counting your mistakes with a calculator in His hand. No, God is merciful, God is generous, God is boundless. The one who curses you for not tithing is not speaking for God, but against Him. For God blesses freely, not conditionally. He opens the heavens, not because you paid a price, but because He is faithful to those who trust Him. And hear me, if you give a tenth, thinking you have satisfied God, but you ignore the needs of your neighbor, you are in sin. If you place money in the hands of religious leaders, but turn away from the hungry, the thirsty, the orphan, and the oppressed, your tithe becomes an offense. God does not need your money. He desires your compassion. God does not require your tenth. He requires your justice. God does not hunger for your coins. He hungers for your heart. Do you know why tithing has been exalted so highly in many places? Because it is easier to manipulate money than to demand holiness. It is easier to command percentages than to preach repentance. It is easier to build buildings than to build souls. And so men have chosen the path of convenience, enslaving the people to law, while ignoring the call to purity. But I declare to you today, God is not mocked. God will tear down every system that elevates money above truth. God will strip the masks from those who exploit His name. And God will raise up a people who will serve Him with undivided hearts, unshackled from tradition, free to love, free to give, free to live wholly for Him. So, my beloved, break free from the chains of this deception. Do not let your relationship with God be reduced to mathematics. Do not measure your faith by the size of your envelope. Do not think your standing before God can be bought or sold. Give to God with freedom, give with joy, give with compassion, give with the knowledge that everything belongs to Him already. And when you live like this, you will see a life overflowing with peace, because you will no longer live under the burden of obligation, but under the freedom of devotion. My beloved, lean in and listen closely, for the truth I speak is not a whisper, but a thunder that shakes the very ground of falsehood. There are times when a preacher must comfort, but there are also times when a preacher must confront. Today is a day of confrontation with a lie that has walked too long among the people of God. This lie has wrapped itself in garments of holiness. It has stood in pulpits. It has raised its voice with authority, but beneath it all, it is deception. And I say it without fear. Tithing, as it is preached and practiced today, is a sin because it corrupts the purity of devotion and entangles the heart of worship with the chains of money. God is not a collector of fees. God is not sitting in the heavens calculating percentages as though he were an accountant of men. To imagine so is to shrink his majesty to the level of our systems. God is far above such limitations. He is the owner of all things, the giver of every breath, the sustainer of every heartbeat. What can you possibly offer him that is not already his? What coin? What bill? What portion of your labor can you claim as yours to begin with? Everything in your hand is on loan from God. When you understand this, you will see how shallow and distorted the practice of tithing has become. The tragedy is that men have used tithing not as a call to holiness, but as a tool of manipulation. They have built empires of stone and marble while the poor weep in silence. They have preached curses on the faithful if they fail to pay, while they themselves live in comfort, luxury, and ease. They stand before the people with smiles on their faces, but behind their smiles is the hunger for more wealth, more buildings, more power. And all of this is done in the name of God. But I tell you, God is not mocked. God sees. God hears. God will not remain silent forever. Those who misuse his name for profit will one day tremble under his judgment. Now, do not mistake my words. I do not say that giving is wrong. Giving is holy when it springs from the fountain of love, when it is born out of gratitude, when it flows from a heart that knows everything belongs to God. But when giving is chained to fear, when it is driven by guilt, when it is demanded as a condition for blessings, it ceases to be holy and becomes polluted. God does not delight in coerced offerings. God delights in free will. God delights in the soul that says, I will give not because I must, but because I love. I will give not because I am threatened, but because I am grateful. I will give not because I calculate, but because I surrender. And let us ask ourselves this: if a man gives 10% of his wealth faithfully, but withholds mercy from his neighbor, is he righteous? If a woman tithes every month, but harbors bitterness, envy, and deceit in her heart, does God receive her offering? No. For God does not measure devotion in numbers. He measures devotion in purity. God does not look at the portion of your money. He looks at the condition of your soul. The greatest offering you can give is not a tenth of your labor. It is the entirety of your life. The sin of tithing lies not only in its practice, but in its effect. It has created generations of believers who measure their relationship with God by their wallets instead of their hearts. It has silenced the call to holiness with the noise of financial obligation. It has turned the house of God into a marketplace where blessings are bought and sold. My friends, when you see religion reduced to transactions, know that you are no longer standing in the truth of God, but in the system of men. And here is another truth. God does not need your money to accomplish his purposes. If God desires a work to be done, he will provide the resources, whether through the hearts of willing servants or by his own unseen hand. If a ministry survives only because people are coerced into tithing, that ministry is not sustained by God, but by manipulation. And if it falls, when the tithes are removed, then it was never founded on the rock of God's provision. True works of God are upheld by His power, not by the forced contributions of His people. Let us also consider the poor, the widow, the orphan, the laborer struggling to put food on the table. Do you think God is pleased when they are pressured to give the little? They have to maintain the wealth of institutions. Do you think God will curse a hungry child because his parents could not produce a tenth of their wage? God is not cruel. God is not unjust. God is not a tyrant demanding payment from the weak. God is merciful, and His mercy is greater than the traditions of men. Hear me now. The holiest form of giving is not measured in percentages, but in sacrifice. If a man with abundance gives 10% and keeps 90% for his pleasure, while another with little gives freely out of his need, who is more righteous before God? It is the one who gives with sincerity, not calculation. It is the one whose gift cost him something, not the one who gave out of excess. God sees not the amount, but the weight of the sacrifice. And often, the smallest gift in the eyes of men is the greatest treasure in the eyes of God. Therefore, do not be deceived. Do not measure your faithfulness by the ledger of percentages. Measure it by the depth of your surrender. Measure it by the purity of your heart. Measure it by the love you show to those in need, the justice you uphold in your dealings, the humility with which you walk before God. That is the true God requires, not your money, but your life. My beloved, open your heart, for I speak not with the authority of men, but with the weight of truth that flows from the reality of God. Too long have chains of tradition been mistaken for the voice of God. Too long have the faithful been trapped in systems that God never commanded. And the strongest of these chains is tithing, a practice that has been exalted above obedience, elevated above mercy, and substituted for true devotion. But I tell you now with unshakable conviction, this is not the way of God. God does not desire your calculation. God desires your consecration. God does not seek your percentage. God seeks your purity. Look around you at the world. Do you not see how the love of money has corrupted the hearts of many? Do you not see how it has crept even into the house of God, clothed in religious garments, carrying the name of holiness, yet driven by greed? When money becomes the center, God is pushed aside. When men preach more about giving than about righteousness, the altar has been defiled. Tithing, as it is taught today, feeds this corruption because it conditions the mind to think that blessings are bought, that curses are avoided by payments, that God can be managed like a creditor. This is an offense to the holiness of God. God cannot be bought. God cannot be bribed. God is not swayed by numbers written on envelopes. God looks deeper. He looks at your thoughts, your intentions, your actions, your very soul. If your money is laid on the altar, but your heart is absent, God rejects it. If you give 10%, but your life is filled with deceit, God despises it. If you pay faithfully yet ignore the cry of the oppressed, your offering rises as smoke, but not as worship. It rises as judgment. For what pleases God is not your tithe, but your truth, not your silver, but your sincerity. Hear this. When you treat God like a business partner, you dishonor Him. When you give to Him expecting a guaranteed return, you insult His greatness. When you hand over a percentage and believe that settles your obligation, you diminish His authority. God is not a merchant. God is the Creator, the Master, the Lord of all existence. He asks not for your fraction, but for your fullness. He asks not for your tenth, but for your total. Anything less is not worship. It is compromise. And let me speak with even greater boldness. Those who enforce tithing upon you commit sin themselves. They claim to speak for God, but they speak their own hunger. They build towers of wealth while the people suffer. They declare curses upon those who cannot pay, while they themselves exploit the name of the Almighty. They are like those of old who turned the house of prayer into a house of trade. And I tell you with certainty, God sees, and God will not be silent. Their wealth will testify against them, and their manipulation will be judged. For God is a defender of the poor, and He will not allow their cries to go unanswered. Beloved, let your eyes be open to the greater truth. God's desire is not to take from you, but to make you free. Free from fear, free from manipulation, free from the lies of men. When you give to God, let it be, because your heart overflows with gratitude. Let it be, because you cannot contain the joy of His goodness. Let it be, because you long to reflect His generosity. That kind of giving cannot be measured by percentage. Sometimes it will be more than 10%, sometimes less. But always it will be led by the Spirit of God within you, not by the law of men. Do not think I am teaching stinginess. No, I call you to something higher. I call you to radical generosity, not the generosity of law, but of love. When you see the hungry, feed them. When you see the naked, clothe them. When you see the oppressed, lift them. This is the offering God receives with joy. This is the sacrifice that ascends to Him like sweet fragrance. When your hand opens to your neighbor in need, you are giving directly to God. When your heart pours out compassion, you are laying treasure in eternity, and that treasure is worth more than all the tithes of all the temples of men. Think of this, beloved. If your child came to you and gave you 10% of his allowance, but treated you with dishonor, would you be pleased? Would you not rather have his respect, his love, his obedience? So it is with God. He does not want your calculated gifts while your soul remains distant. He desires your devotion. He desires that you walk humbly, act justly, and love Him with all your heart. Tithing distracts from this because it makes you think that fulfilling a duty fulfills your relationship. But relationship with God is not duty. It is surrender. It is intimacy. It is complete alignment of your life with His will. And here is a mystery if you consider: when you tithe, you limit God's claim. You say, this part belongs to you, but the rest is mine. But when you surrender fully, you recognize all belongs to God, and I am only a steward. The sin of tithing is that it deceives you into believing partial ownership, when in reality, there is no such thing. God owns all. You are but a trustee of His wealth. And if you are faithful with little, He will entrust you with more. Not because you gave a tenth, but because you lived as one who knows nothing is yours to begin with. Therefore, beloved, tear down this idol of percentages. Refuse to be enslaved by fear. Refuse to let men place curses upon you that God never declared. Refuse to live as an accountant in the presence of the Almighty. Live instead as a child before your Father, free, surrendered, overflowing with gratitude. When you live like this, your giving will have power, not because of its amount, but because of its purity. It will move the heart of God, not because it is calculated, but because it is consecrated. My beloved, hear me as I bring this truth to its close. The voice of God is not a voice of oppression, nor a voice of fear. It is a voice of freedom, a voice of purity, a voice that calls His people out of bondage and into the light of truth. Tithing, as it has been preached by men, is not the pathway to God. It is a chain forged by greed, a shadow that has covered the true meaning of devotion. God never asked you for a percentage. God never demanded a calculation. God asked for your heart, your life, your surrender, your obedience. Do not leave this message thinking it is about withholding, for it is not about withholding at all. It is about releasing. Releasing yourself from fear. Releasing yourself from manipulation. Releasing yourself from the lie that you can purchase the blessings of the Almighty. When you give, let it be pure. Let it be cheerful. Let it be led by love. When you open your hand, let it be because your heart is overflowing with gratitude, not because your mind is terrified by curses. When you serve, let it be with joy, not with compulsion. This is the kind of offering that touches the heart of God. So rise, children of God. Rise above tradition. Rise above manipulation. Rise above the empty threats of men. Walk in freedom. Live in surrender. Let your life itself become the offering. Let your every breath be a gift to the one who gave it. Let your compassion, your justice, your humility, your love be the true tithe that God desires. And when you live like this, you will discover that the windows of heaven do not open because you paid. They open because you trusted. They open because you walked with God in truth. They open because you gave Him not a tenth, but all. This is the call, this is the truth, and this is the freedom. All belongs to God. All is sustained by God. All returns to God. Give Him not your portion, but your everything. And you will find that in losing nothing for Him, you gain everything from Him.